Did y'all peep the McCall patterns that just dropped for spring 2024? Well, guess what? We're gonna talk about it because we're here to talk about it, all right? So if that's some content you would like to see, please continue to watch. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Rochelle from Rochelle.Handmade.Designs, and in this video, I'm going to be sharing with you guys the McCall Spring 2024 pattern drops. So it's decent, and we're going to talk about it. So if you are new to the channel, welcome. Hello, Ciao, Guten, Aloha, Hola, Konnichiwa, Gwaan, Sabonani, Shalom, Bonjour, Terve. If you are returning, you guys know what to do. Quick snack, something to drink. Come on back so we can go ahead and get into this video. Now, you guys know I'm going to keep this as short, sweet, and to the point, but I got some details to give you guys, all right? So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. All right, so you guys know that the McCall patterns dropped, and I'm gonna say it's decent. I'm not gonna say like it's super, super good. I actually like the early spring patterns better than this collection, but you guys may not agree with me. But we're gonna go ahead and get into it because we're gonna keep this short because there's a lot of patterns that they dropped all at once. The simplicity, the McCalls, and the Know Me. Now in this video, we're gonna just be focusing on the McCall patterns. All right, so let's go ahead and get into it. So the first pattern is 8473. All of these are McCall, so I'm just gonna say the pattern number. Now this one is a learn to fit pattern, which I find to be interesting. It's a Melissa Watson 4 Palmer and Pletch pants that have the fly front zipper, back yoke, pockets, and belt loops. Make it an outfit with the matching jacket, which is the next pattern, 8474. All right, this pattern is also featured as an average to sew pattern. Now, one thing I want to mention is Melissa Watson for Palmer and Pletch, which means that this pattern is actually a previous pattern that was put out by Palmer and Pletch. Now, if I find that pattern during the editing process, I will go ahead and put that pattern up with the pattern number. Now, just remind you, I just looked at these patterns, okay? And they just dropped 10 minutes ago. So with that being said, you know, it's like, I normally do my research, but on this one, I'm going to say I don't know exactly the pattern because I don't buy a lot of Palmer and Pletch patterns, but I'm pretty sure it is a Palmer and Pletch pattern that this pattern is featuring. All right, let's talk about sizing. So in terms of pattern sizing, it's 2 envelopes, 8 to 16 and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. In terms of fabrics, so in terms of fabric for this one, you can use cotton blends, denim, linen, and twill, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next pattern, which I kind of already talked to you guys about. It's the Mrs. Jacket by Melissa Watson as well for Palmer and Pletch. All right. It is also a learn to fit or learn to sew style pattern for sure. So let's go ahead and get into it. So this is a jacket that has large front pockets with flap, front button closure, back yoke, and long 2-piece sleeves with the buttons. Make it an outfit if you pair it with the pants, which is the pants that I previously just said. McCall's 8473. This is an average to sew pattern. Now, this reminds me of a pattern that came back out in like 2019. I'll put it up on the screen during the editing process so I can show you which pattern I am talking about. And I actually think it is a Melissa Watson pattern that I'm thinking of. It's like a woman with, I think in that pattern, it has like the trim or something like that, but I'll try to find the pattern and put it up on the screen for you. Let's talk about sizing. So in terms of the pattern sizing for this pattern, it's 2 patterns, 8 to 16 and then 18 to 26 on that second pattern. Let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabrics for this pattern, you could use cotton blends, denim, linen, or twill, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern. Once again, it's 8474. Moving over to the next pattern, which is 8476. Now this pattern is a Mrs. dress. Let's talk about it. This pattern is rated as easy to sew. So it's an easy to sew knit bodice dress with contrast skirt, This pattern goes in 2 pattern envelopes. So it's 6 to 14 on the first one and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Now this pattern also features kind of like an ankle length dress that have the neckline variation, elastic at the waist, and side seam pockets. Now I do like this dress in terms of view C. Is what I would be doing, kind of like that square neck. I like that view. View B can be interesting as well. So I don't know. I don't know if I would pick this pattern up, to be 100% honest with you. But let's talk about fabrics. Now, in terms of fabric for this one, you will definitely need knit at the bodice portion of this dress. And then for the bottom skirt portion, you can use any type of woven. You can use cotton blends, you can use poplin, you can use sateen, just to name a few of the woven fabrics that you can use for the skirt portion. All right, let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. So the next pattern is 8475, and this pattern is a Mrs. or woman's dress. So this pattern is definitely rated as average to sew. It's more of like an evening gown dress for both Mrs. and women's. Now this pattern features 2 pattern envelopes. The first one is 10 to 18 and 20W to 28W. This dress has curved empire and princess seam, baby hem, strapped or a racer back style, an invisible zipper closure, and then view C is the dress that's down to the floor that have that train, which I like. All right, so let's talk about something. So you guys know that mini Frocktails is coming up. So the South Florida Frocktail is coming up April 13th, which is Masquerade Ball. That dress, that gown with the train would be amazing to do. However, I would not put all my eggs in the basket for this pattern. For that, maybe if you are going to the Atlanta Frocktail and that theme is summer gardens, it may be for you. And the reason why I say that is because it gives you time to sew. It's not giving you time to sew. If the patterns just drop, it's going to be at least a month before they have it in your local Joann's. All right. Unless you get the PDF on simplicity.com before time, piece it together, and then make it do what it do. Now, I know Simplicity is starting to do AO files, and I think it's just Vogue right now, but keep your eyes peeled for simplicity.com. All right, let's finish up with this pattern. So let's talk about the fabrics that you can use in order to sew up this dress. So in terms of fabric for this pattern, 8475, you can use Chez Muse, crepe back satin, crepe, just to name a few. You're going to need some lining fabric as well. But once again, this is 8475. Let's go ahead and talk about the next pattern, which is 8477, which is a shirt dress. Now you guys know it's coming. Before you ask, Battle of the Shirt Dress is coming back this week. All right. So we'll talk about it. I already filmed the video. It's already edited. I will post that this week. All right. So before you even ask, because I said shirt dress, yes, it is coming back this upcoming week. All right. So this pattern is let's talk about 8477. It is a drop shoulder shirt dress, has a double yoke, top stitching, length and sleeve variation, and an optional sash. This is an average to sew pattern. I will be picking up this pattern, by the way. It features 2 pattern envelopes, 8 to 16 and then 18 to 26 on the second pattern. Let's talk fabrics, you guys. So in terms of fabric, I'm going to say any type of woven fabric of your choosing. You can use cotton blends, you can use gauze, lawn, lightweight linen, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern. Once again, it's 8477. Moving over to the next pattern, which is 8478. And this is a Mrs. Corset top pattern. You guys, I will not be picking this pattern up. Just, you know, I'm passing on all corset patterns. Now, this pattern reminds me of a corset pattern that came out back in either 2019 or 2020. Let's talk about it. And during the editing process, I'll put it up on the screen if I can remember the pattern number. All right. Now this pattern is a figure flattering and fitted corset style crop top. It has front button closure, square neckline, and top stitching detail. View B have the faux pockets. This is an average to sew pattern. In terms of sizing for the pattern envelope, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14 on the first one, and then 16 to 24 on that second pattern. Let's talk fabrics. Now, in terms of fabrics for this one, you're going to need woven fabrics once again, chambray, denim, linen, or twill, just to name a few there. Now, one thing that I like about this, it doesn't mention boning. So because it doesn't mention boning, I can consider doing this corset pattern. I do like the fact that it has a longer view to where you're not just cropped right here at the bust area. So I might consider this corset pattern because one thing I don't like is boning. And I don't want anything that's like just completely cropped to right above your tatas, okay? So I might consider this pattern, which is 84.78. We'll see once it's in my local Joann's, all right? Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is 84.79, which is a Mrs. Wrap skirt. Now, I will be passing on this pattern because I don't need any more wrap skirts. I don't see it being any different than previous wrap skirts that I already have in my wardrobe. Let's talk about it, all right? So this pattern is an asymmetrical wrap front skirt with pocket variation. It have the fly front zipper with button closure and adjustable strap. View B and view C have front pleats. All right, so this pattern does remind me of a pattern that I already sewed up, which is New Look 6659, I believe. The only difference is this one is asymmetrical instead of just your front view. This one will feature a sew along for this pattern on McCall's YouTube page. I think it's going to be on McCall's YouTube page. It is a average to sew pattern for this one. Let's talk about pattern sizing. So in terms of pattern sizing, 2 envelopes, 6 to 14 and 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabric, any type of woven fabric of your choosing, once again, you can use cotton blends, denim, poplin, twill, just to name a few. I noticed that a lot of the patterns are like the same cotton blends, denim, poplin, twill, or linen. So I'm just gonna say majority of the patterns will feature pretty much that for in terms of woven fabric. But once again, this is 84.79. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is 84.80. So this pattern is a Mrs. skirt and 3 lengths. Now, let's first talk about it, even though I'm pretty sure that I will not be picking up this pattern, but it is a fly front skirt. It has seaming details, which means some top stitching, back yoke, pockets, and length variation. View C skirt have your high-low hem. I feel like I have seen this pattern before. I don't know the pattern number. This pattern is an average to sew pattern. I will not be picking this pattern up because I don't need any more skirt patterns in my wardrobe for right now. Because you guys know I did a skirt series, not last year in 2023, but in 2022. I still have all of those skirts that I created. Y'all, like, yeah. But anyway, let's go ahead and talk about pattern sizing. So this pattern features 2 envelopes, 8 to 16, and then 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics. In terms of fabrics for this pattern, chambray, chino, denim, twill, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern. Once again, it's 84.80. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is 84.81, which is a Mrs. knit top and skirt pattern. Now this one I'm gonna definitely be passing on because this one is another pattern for like your pickleball or tennis ensemble. Let's talk about it. So this is a top and 3 button placket, color, optional, contrast, and purchase stretch, piping, or trim. It also features a skirt with elastic waistband. It have the purchase, stretch, piping, or contrast at the band. It is an average to sew pattern as well. In terms of pattern sizing, it's 8 to 16 and 18 to 26 on that second pattern envelope. Let's talk fabrics. So in terms of fabrics for this pattern, you have, you could use like any type of knit is what they're looking for. Make sure you are using your fusible knit as the interfacing. Do not use woven interfacing in order to do this one. But once again, this pattern is 8481. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. Now, 8481 is one that I will not be picking up because I don't see myself doing. If I pick that pattern up, it will be strictly for the top, not the skirt. I don't know when the last time I wore a skirt, but for the skirt, first of all, I don't play pickleball like that, even though it is well known now, it's more like tennis really and racquetball mixed together. But let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. It's 8482. It's a top and skirt pattern. Let's talk about it. So this pattern is a crop top. It has short or long puff sleeves and a high neckline with elastic at the sleeve, waist, and the neck. All right, so you have elastic in all three of those areas. View B top includes a sash. Pull on asymmetrical tier skirt, which comes in 2 lengths. Now this is a easy to sew pattern for sure, but let's stop right here for a second. So let me mention something. So this pattern, the top remind me of a pattern that Brittany J. Jones did, where I'm just gonna say the top reminds me of Mimi G's Simplicity 9450, but it also reminds me of a McCall pattern that like the front is the same as the Mimi G pattern, Simplicity 9450, but the back was out. I don't remember the pattern number off the top of my head right now, but I know Brittany J. Jones did a sew along for that one. So the back is out and it straps, right? So I'm gonna put the pattern up, don't worry about it, all right? It reminds me of that pattern. Although the top is more like Mimi and just have like the ties in the back, okay? The skirt, you can get this pattern, I don't remember what pattern number it is. I don't even remember the brand, but I have seen the skirt also before, like a broom style skirt is what I'm going to say that this pattern is. I like the pattern. I may pick it up. I'm not 100% sold on this pattern yet, but let's talk about pattern size. So in terms of pattern sizing, I'm going to say this pattern is not size inclusive. It's only 2 pattern envelopes, 4 to 12 and 12 to 20 on the second pattern envelope. Now, you guys know in terms of fabric for this one, woven fabrics for sure. So you can use any type of challis, cotton blends, gauze, or lightweight linen, just to name a few of the fabrics that you can use for this pattern. Once again, it's 8482. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is 8483, which is also 8482. So I just forgot to mention that pattern, but it is the woman size pattern for 8482. So if you're looking for that pattern in terms of sizing, it's 20W to 28W and 30W to 38W on that pattern. It is pretty much the same pattern. It's just that it's in a woman size instead of a missus size. All right. Now, one thing I want to mention, moving back to the last pattern, 8481, that is the missus pattern. And then there's also a men pattern. I'm going to put it up on the screen, which is 8485. That is your men's pickleball pattern, whatever, you know, that you have the top and the shorts. Same detail, same features and everything. One's for men, one for women. I forgot to mention that, so I want to mention that now. All right, but let's go ahead and get into the next pattern. So the next pattern is 8484, which is a pair of missus pajamas. All right, let's talk about it. So this pattern right here, I don't think I would pick it up. This reminds me of kind of like, it's a simplicity pattern. I don't know the pattern by heart, but the pants remind me of kind of like a contrast where you could just contrast at the bottom and have a different thing at the top. So that's what this pattern reminds me of, but let's go ahead and talk about it. So this pattern is an oversized top and collar with front button closure. It has shorts or long sleeves options. The pants and the shorts have ribbon trim, purchased piping trim, and elastic waistband. This is an average to sew pattern there. And then in terms of sizing, it's 1 pattern envelope, extra small to extra, extra large. And then in terms of the fabrics that you can use, I'm just going to say any type of lightweight woven fabric, is what you can use. Chalet, chemise, crepe, lawn, just to name a few there in terms of the fabrics that you can use. Now, one thing that I want to mention in terms of this pattern, it's not one that I think I will be picking up. I think I'm going to leave this one on the shelf for someone who's interested in this one for sure. But once again, it's $84.84. Let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is $84.86, which is a men's shirt and shorts pattern. Now, this one is more like just a button-down shirt and a pair of shorts. You could basically use two men patterns, save you $2 for this pattern. But let's go ahead and talk about it. So this is matching shirt and short set for men. It features size 34 to 52, which means that it has two pattern envelopes, 34 to 42 and then 44 to 52. Now, this pattern is a button front shirt. It have collar and comes in short or long sleeves with the cuffs. View B, which is the shorts, has front pockets with flap, pull-on shorts with elastic waist. It have drawstrings and pockets. And then View C shorts have your side slit. It is featured as a easy to sew pattern as well. So that pattern is $84.86 for that pattern. But to be honest with you, it's a pattern that I'm not going to be picking up. All right, let's go ahead and move over to the next pattern, which is $84.90. Now, this is a vintage 70s pattern by Laura Ashley. Okay, so I will not be picking this pattern up, but let's talk about it. So this is a Mrs. Top skirt and petticoat pattern. Now, this is a vintage pattern from, I'm just going to say probably the vault from 1970s. This is a authentic reproduction pattern. Now, it's an average to sew pattern. Let's talk about that. And this pattern is not like your typical size inclusive pattern. It's only one pattern envelope, and that's size 8 to 16. So if I was an 18, I couldn't even pick this pattern up anyway. I would have to size it up. All right, so I'm just going to leave that there. For my vintage girlies, you guys could definitely pick this pattern up, but I'm pretty sure it's similar to a previous pattern that she put out a while ago. All right, but let's just say that this pattern is $84.90. Moving over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is $84.91, which is a Mrs. Unlined jacket. All right, so this is a vintage 1980s pattern. I noticed that they've been putting out a lot of vintage patterns for sure. This is another authentic vintage reproduction pattern. It's an unlined jacket. View A or B with seam has the extended shoulders. So this is pretty much like your boyfriend style jacket. It have shoulder pads. It has the notch collar, long sleeves. Now, they state that the fabric will show on the wrong side if you roll up your hem, but that's just common unless you're lining the jacket. It also features like huge patch pockets, front welt pockets, top stitching, and machine stitched hem. The jacket in View A has drawstrings in the back casing. And yeah, I mean, I like this one, but I think for sure that I would probably leave it on the shelf, to be honest with you. I don't think I would sew this pattern up anytime soon. I don't know, because I mean, I see the line arts, but I would definitely have to look at the instructions when I go to Joann's to see if this is a pattern that's worth me picking up. All right. But once again, it's $84.91. Moving over to the next pattern. So the next pattern is a Mrs. dress or a top, another vintage pattern, but this vintage pattern is from 1970s. Let's talk about it. So this is a dress or top sewing pattern. It's a pullover dress or top front. It's gathered in two front bands which fold back to form the collar. It features short sleeves with gathered cap turns up to form the cuffs. All right, so it's like a cap sleeve that the cuff is turned up to form that cuff that you have. Now, View B dress, the dress in View B has the purchase belt as well. All right, so just to kind of recap, because all of that details from Simplicity website just didn't make sense, to be honest. So I'm just going to recap in my own words. So what we have is a pullover dress or top. You have the gathered sleeves, and then you have the cuff. The cuff is, so the sleeve comes down into the cuff, and the cuff turns up to form that cuff, like the bottom band. You have that sewn onto your sleeves. All right. Same thing goes for the top. And then if you are doing view B, you have to purchase a belt if you want that purchase belt detail. Now that sounds about right, but all of that jumble that they have as the description, yeah. Anyway, for this one, I think I'm going to be passing on this pattern because I have a pattern that's similar to this pattern already. All right. But this pattern is McCall's 8492. Let's go ahead and move over to, let's talk about sizing for this pattern before I move over to the next pattern. So in terms of sizing, it's 2 pattern envelopes, 6 to 14, and then 16 to 24 on the second pattern envelope. All right. Let's move over to the last pattern. And the last pattern is another vintage pattern, which is 8493. This pattern is a Mrs. Knit top, skirt, pants, and shorts pattern. All right. For this pattern, I think I'm going to pass on this one as well. It's a 1970s quick and easy top, skirt, pants, and shorts sewing pattern. So basically in view A, you have kind of like a 2-piece. It's like a top and skirt pattern for sure. So with view A, you have the skirt has elastic in the waistline. And then in terms of like view A top, it has like sleeve bands and drawstring in the waist for like the waist casing. View B, C, D, and E, they all features tops. It's just basically the sleeve is basically turned up for that. View B, C, and D have the drawstring in the lower casing instead of the waist casing. And then view D and E have your collar that have pockets in the side seam opening. And then, of course, like I mentioned, the skirt is elastic waist. And then you have the pants in view BE. So for the pants or the shorts, you have elastic in the back casing there as well. Now this is rated as an easy to sew pattern. In terms of sizing, 1 pattern envelope, extra small to large. All right. Well, those are all the patterns that McCall's dropped. It wasn't many that I would be picking up, but that's a good thing for myself, okay? But that's it for this video. Let me know in the comment section below which ones you like, don't tell me which ones you didn't like or didn't care for. Just tell me the ones that you like, because I'm going to say this. You guys love to tell me which ones you do not like, and that's perfectly fine. But I would love to know which ones you are picking up so I can see if those are some patterns. Maybe you guys could change my mind on some of these patterns. All right. So let's talk about the ones you will be picking up. Okay. Well, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed. And if this video was educational, informative, and fun, please do not forget to hit that like button, subscribe button. Also smash that notification bell so you are notified every time I upload a new video. So I'll catch you in the next video. And as always, keep sewing.